The new unit we're going to be looking at is on proportional reasoning, and today's lesson is specifically on ratios. So a ratio compares two numbers that are measured by the same units and can be written in several different ways. So some ways that you can write a ratio are as a fraction. So I can write it as, if I had my fraction here, I can go 30 over 40. I can write it as 30 semicolon 40, and I can also write it as 30 to 40. All three ways are correct. All three ways represent the exact same ratio. So we can also do ratios mathematically or with a calculator. So I'm going to show you both ways because both ways are correct. So to simplify ratios with your calculator, what you're going to do is you're going to find what we call the ABC button on your calculator, and you're going to type in the top number or the first number, depending on how your ratio is written. You're going to push that ABC button on your calculator. You're going to type in the second number. You're going to hit the equals button. And it's going to give you something that says a number are a number. And I'm going to show you exactly what to do with that. So for the first one, if we were to do this with our calculator, we're going to type in 4. And then we're going to hit the lovely ABC button. We're going to type in 16. We're going to hit equals, and we're going to get something that looks like this. 1R4. Now this means 1 remainder 4, so that means that we technically have to write it as 1 over 4. We started with a fraction, our answer is going to end as a fraction. To do this mathematically, super easy as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take 4 over 16. We're going to find a number that we can divide both 4 and 16 by. So in this case, it's 4. And we're going to hit equals. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. As you can see, both my answers are the same. So my answer for this question is 1 over 4. So all we're really doing is simplifying fractions or simplifying ratios. The next one I'm just going to use my calculator to do. So 12 over 3, we're going to type in 12, ABC button, 3. When I type that into my calculator, I'm going to get 4, and it's just going to say 4. It's not going to say anything else, which means my answer is the same as 4 over 1. So if it gives you a whole number, no R, you can just write the whole number, or you can write it as a fraction, which is 4 over 1 or 4 to 1. In this case, we're going to want to write it as the fraction because that's what we were originally given and because we're dealing with ratios. Same thing with 28 over 75. If you type this into your calculator, 28 ABC 75, I'm going to actually be given 28 R75. So that tells me this is in lowest terms. So I'm just going to write it as 28 over 75 because it's the exact same thing. Let's do a few more. 15 over 21. I'm going to do this one mathematically for you. So we're going to take 15 over 21. We're going to divide the top by 3, the bottom by 3, because both numbers are divisible by 3. And I'm going to get 5 over 7. Now, if you were to do the next one, both are divisible by 2. So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. I'm going to get 9. Sorry, I'm going to get 4, not 9. I'm going to get 4 over 9. That makes way more sense. Now 45 and 100, if you type this into your calculator, you're going to go 45 ABC 100, and you're going to get a number that says 9 R20. So that means we have 9 over 20. Now, these next ones here are written in a different form. So these ones here are written as ratios going sideways using the semicolon. So we are going to have 20 to 50. So we can still use our calculator. We can still do the exact same thing. But we like to change them to a fraction because it's easy to work with. So we can technically just go 20 over 50. So the first number on the top, second number on the bottom. Both numbers are divisible by 10. They end in a 0, which means I'm going to get 2 over 5. Now, you can type this in your calculator. You're going to go 20 ABC 50. It's going to give you 20, or it's going to give you 2R50, or R5, sorry. 2R5 is what it's going to give you, which we can write as 2 over 5, same as the first one. But because our original was in a ratio form that had the semicolons, we're going to have to convert that. So we're now going to rewrite it the top number, semicolon, bottom number. So this ratio simplifies to 2 to 5. 3 to 21, same thing. What are both divisible by? What you can type in your calculator. You don't necessarily have to turn it into a fraction to do so. So you can still do it with your calculator by just going your first number, which was 3, your ABC button, your second number, which is 21, and it's going to give you 1R7. So we can write this as 1 over 7 and turn it back into a ratio by going top number to bottom number. Last one here, 56 to 7 is 56 over 7. So I'm going to go 56 ABC 7. It's going to give me 8. Now we had a ratio that was set up with using the semicolon form. So this 8 is the same as 8 over 1. So I can now write my ratio back as 8 to 1. So it has a ratio of 8 to 1. Example number 2. So this part here is all about deciding how to set up a ratio. So you first need to decide if your units are the same. You need to set up your ratios as to what you are comparing. So this is where we talk, you have to have the same thing on the top and the same thing on the bottom, and they all have to be measured in the same units. So Charles works as a cook in a restaurant. His chicken soup recipe contains 11 cups of broth, 5 cups of veggies, 3 cups of rice, 3 cups of chopped chicken. He wants to make smaller recipes at home. To reduce the recipe, he needs to know what the ratios are between the quantities of ingredients. So first thing what we're going to do is we need to figure out what the total amount of ingredients is. So we're going to make ourselves a little chart here. We're going to say we have 11 cups of broth, 5 cups of veggies, 3 cups of rice, and 3 cups of chicken. Now, if I add those all together, I get a total of 22 cups. That's my total. So I get a total of 22 cups, okay? So now that we know what our total is, we can figure out a couple different ratios. So just remember your total is 22 cups. So it wants what is the ratio of veggies to chicken? So veggies, I had 5 cups, so we're going to put veggies on the top, chicken on the bottom, and I'm going to write it as 5 cups to 3 cups. So it's a 5 to 3 ratio. So we can write it as a fraction, or I can write it this way if I choose to. What is the ratio of broth to veggies? So broth to veggies. So when you're writing your ratios, it's always the first thing it says broth to something. That first thing they mention is always on the top, second thing is always on the bottom, or first versus second. So broth to veggies is going to give me an 11 to 5 ratio. There's a couple different ways we can write this once again, so you can pick which way you like best. Ratio of chicken to rice. So my ratio of chicken to rice is a 3 to 3 ratio, which means this is the same thing as a 1 to 1 ratio. So the numbers are the exact same, so it's like saying it's a 1 to 1 ratio. So every time I put in a cup of chicken, I have to put in a cup of rice. Now it's wanting to know what is the ratio of chicken to the total ingredients in the recipe. So if I'm wanting chicken to the entire total ingredients of my recipe, I'm going to chicken to total. Now remember our total was 22 and chicken is 3. So I have a 3 to 22 ratio. A lot of times we want to make sure that these ratios are in lowest terms. So always type them in your calculator, use your ABC button, make sure they're in lowest terms, because if you're not giving them in lowest terms, you're probably going to be losing marks. We like things in lowest terms if at all possible.